I wasn't invited to the family trip. You're not fun anymore, they said. So I booked my own and ended up on the news. Now everyone's pretending they were supportive. You ever scroll through social media and feel your stomach drop? Not because of some world tragedy or heartbreaking news, but because you're staring at a photo, sunlight, smiles, and matching family t-shirts, and realize, with a kind of cold clarity, that you weren't supposed to see it? That's how it started. A tagged photo on my cousin Jenna's Instagram. They were all there, my parents, my sister, my aunts and uncles, even cousin Brian who supposedly hates the beach. All of them on a tropical vacation. Laughing. Holding coconuts. Standing under a sign that said, "Welcome to Paradise." And me? I was at home. In sweatpants. Eating leftover stir-fry straight from the pan. At first, I thought maybe it was a throwback. You know, #TBT or some nostalgic flashback. But no. The timestamp said today. They were currently sipping mojitos in Maui or Cabo or wherever, and I hadn't received so much as a courtesy text. It wasn't just the omission. It was the effort they went through to hide it. The family group chat had been dead for days, which was unusual, especially for my mom who treated that thing like her personal announcement board. Suddenly it made sense. I stared at that photo for a long time. Not angry. Not yet. Just quiet. Then I opened the group chat, heart pounding harder than I wanted to admit, and typed, "Nice trip. When were you all planning on telling me?" Read receipts popped up. 5 of them. Then silence. A full minute later, Jenna replied, "We didn't think you'd want to come. You're not fun anymore." That was it. Not even a period. Just those 5 words, tossed at me like old bread to a pigeon they no longer cared to feed. I didn't even know what stung more, the words themselves or how casually they'd been delivered. I was stunned, blinking at the screen as if it might rewrite itself. As if someone, anyone, might jump in to defend me. But nobody did. And that was the moment something inside me cracked wide open. The worst part wasn't even the message. It was the quiet that followed. The absolute, suffocating silence. No one defended me. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not my sister Rachel. Not even Uncle Paul, who still owed me $200 from that broken-down RV debacle 2 summers ago. They all saw it. Read the message. And moved on with their beach day like I was some annoying afterthought they'd finally managed to shake off. "You're not fun anymore." It echoed in my head louder than the buzzing silence in that chat. I kept staring at it like if I just waited long enough, someone would say it was a joke. That there had been a mix-up. That they missed me. That they were sorry. But no. Nothing. And maybe that's when it really sank in, that I wasn't part of the family, not in the way they were with each other. Somewhere along the line, I'd become the one they excluded to keep the vibe alive. It stung. More than I care to admit. Because yeah, I used to be the fun cousin. The one who stayed up too late on family trips, who organized midnight beach games, who once convinced Grandpa to do a TikTok dance. But after I lost my job last year and went through a rough breakup, I wasn't the life of the party anymore. I got quieter. Withdrawn, maybe? But I showed up. I still made the effort. And they noticed, not to help, but to move on without me. I closed the group chat. I didn't want to see the scene, receipts anymore. Didn't want to feel like a ghost at my own family reunion. Instead, I opened Google Flights. I don't know what I was looking for, but something told me I needed to do something. Anything. That's when an idea hit me, not a sad, lonely revenge fantasy. Something bolder. Bigger. A little unhinged, maybe. But absolutely, unapologetically, fun. I didn't think. Not really. I didn't compare prices or read reviews or plan an itinerary. I just typed in the dates, filtered for somewhere warm, and clicked the first thing that made my pulse skip. Costa Rica. I'd never been. Didn't know much about it beyond jungle, zip lines, and beaches where monkeys sometimes stole your snacks. Perfect. I booked the flight. Non-refundable. Then a boutique hostel right near the coast that bragged about eclectic travelers and tequila Thursdays. Why not? By midnight, I'd thrown clothes into a backpack, sent a quick out-of-office email, and texted my friend Kyle. Taking a trip. No, not losing it. Just finding it. Wish me luck. I didn't even sleep that night. My flight was early, and something in me buzzed too hard for rest. My hands were shaking when I got to the airport, not from fear, but something close to excitement. That nervous, excited edge, like the moment before a roller coaster drops. I hadn't traveled alone in years. I'd always been someone's plus one, Rachel's sidekick at weddings, Jenna's ride to parties, the dependable cousin who brought extra chargers and snacks. But now I was just me. Untethered. And the thing is, once the plane took off, I felt something strange. Not sadness. Not anger. Relief. I landed in San Jose groggy but buzzing with something I hadn't felt in years. Possibility. The hostel was a riot of color and voices. People from everywhere. Backpackers with stories written in tan lines and mosquito bites. There was a whiteboard by the kitchen that listed daily activities. Waterfall hike, 9 a.m., volcano trek, 6 a.m., surfing lessons, noon. I signed up for all of it. Day 1, I was sweating through my shirt in the jungle with a group of strangers, huffing up a rocky path toward a waterfall that sounded like distant applause. A girl from Montreal handed me a piece of mango halfway up the trail and said, "You look like someone who needs to dance more." I laughed so hard I nearly choked. By the time we made it to the water, I dove in fully clothed. The days blurred in the best way. I tried things I never would have dared back home. Cliff jumping. Salsa dancing on the beach. A canyon swing that left my throat raw from screaming. I shared beers with a Dutch couple who'd quit their jobs to live on the road, traded life stories with a Brazilian artist who swore I looked like someone in his dreams, and played guitar at a bonfire despite being only halfway decent. Nobody cared. That was the point. One night, during a storm, we crammed into the hostel's kitchen and made arepas from scratch, laughing like old friends. I caught my reflection in the oven door and almost didn't recognize myself. I looked free. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't performing. I wasn't trying to be fun for anyone. I just was. It happened on a Thursday. The hostel bulletin had said, Tamarindo, ATV Jungle Tour 7 a.m. Pack water. Wear something washable. I'd nearly skipped it. My legs were sore, and I hadn't gotten more than 4 hours of sleep in 2 nights. But something told me, go. So I did. The guide, Luis, was this wiry man with an easy laugh and a machete strapped to his belt. We tore through muddy trails, weaving between trees like bullets from a jungle gun. I'd never ridden an ATV before, but by the 3rd turn I was whooping like a kid on a snow day. Midway through, the sky split open with rain. Not a drizzle, a full deluge. Luis pulled over under a cluster of banana trees, waving for us to stop. And then we heard it. A scream. It came from somewhere down the slope, beyond the ridge. Without thinking, I handed my helmet to the girl next to me and started running. I don't know what kicked in. Instinct? Adrenaline? Stubbornness? But I clambered down that slope, sliding through wet mud, grabbing at vines, until I saw him, a tourist, probably mid-60s, lying by the river with a twisted leg and panicked eyes. The current was rising fast. I didn't think. Just stepped into the water, boots filling instantly, and got to him. He was conscious but dazed. I shouted over the roar of the river, told him to hold tight. It took everything I had to brace him, wedge my foot against a rock, and wait for the others to catch up with rope. When they pulled us out, soaked and shaking, I didn't feel heroic. I felt exhausted. And alive. Someone filmed it on their GoPro. Just a blurry, breathless clip of me hauling this man out of the river like something out of a disaster movie. I didn't think much of it. But by that night, the video was on TikTok. By morning, it had 2 million views. Backpacking hero saves tourist in Costa Rican jungle. By lunchtime, someone from a morning show had messaged me for an interview. They called me the unexpected hero. A few outlets twisted the story, said I'd been traveling to find myself after being estranged from family. Like I was some romantic drifter with a broken heart. Which, honestly, wasn't that far off. But the story blew up. And suddenly, I wasn't just the guy who went on vacation. I was that guy. The one who risked his life. Which, okay, felt dramatic to save a stranger. The internet did its thing. My follower count skyrocketed. People tagged me in reaction videos, memes, news articles. I woke up one morning to find someone had drawn fan art of me carrying the tourist, who now had a nickname. River Ron. And then, of course, my family noticed. It started with a ping. Then another. And then 50. Notifications rolled in like a tsunami. My name was everywhere, on Twitter, in travel blogs, even on the Facebook page of a local news station back home. I had made it to Good Morning America. A clip of me helping River Ron, who, by the way, later emailed to thank me with a selfie of his leg in a cast and the caption, "My hero has better hair than me," was broadcast to millions. And then there it was. A comment from Rachel, my sister. Under a reshared clip on Facebook, she wrote, "That's my brother, always been a hero in my eyes." I stared at the screen, blinking. My heart didn't race. My palms didn't sweat. Just a hollow, still sort of calm. Because I knew without a doubt, she hadn't believed a word of that when she left me out of the family trip. Then it spread. Cousin Jenna, the same one who said I wasn't fun anymore, posted a photo of me and her at a barbecue from 4 years ago. Knew he was special even back then. Even Mom shared a link to the article on her timeline with a caption that read, "Proud doesn't even begin to cover it. Love you, sweetheart." She had loved me. The same woman who hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't noticed I was excluded. My phone buzzed again. A message in the family group chat, the same one that had sat dead while they sunbathed on some resort without me. "So proud of you, buddy! We always knew you were one of a kind." It was from Dad. The same Dad who once asked me, mid-bite during Thanksgiving dinner, "Why are you always so quiet lately?" For a moment, I wondered what version of me they were talking about. This fun, heroic, amazing version that had emerged not from their support, but from their absence. And that's when it hit me, they weren't proud of me. They were proud of being associated with me now that it meant something. I didn't respond. Not to the comments, not to the private messages that trickled in, full of sweet words and thinly veiled guilt. I let the silence speak, the same way they had. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I had an idea, something bolder than silence. Something sharp. Surgical. Revenge? Maybe. But not the petty kind. I wanted a celebration. A party. Not for them. For me. For everyone who had actually been there when I wasn't. Fun. When I was struggling. When I was invisible. A celebration of the life I'd built without them. The idea started on the flight back. I had a window seat, an untouched soda, and the glow of the airplane screen reflecting off my phone. I'd muted the family group chat days ago. By then it had morphed into a chaotic echo chamber of congratulations, emojis, and passive-aggressive. "We always believed in you." It was surreal. But also clarifying. They didn't celebrate me. They celebrated the version of me that made them look good. So, I decided to throw a party. Not just any party. A public, over-the-top celebration of life. My life. The one I'd rebuilt, reshaped, redefined. I called it the Lost and Found Bash. The tagline? Sometimes you have to lose your family to find your people. A DJ friend I'd met in Costa Rica offered to play. That French couple who ran a surf school? Flying in. Luis, the tour guide? Said he'd bring homemade guaro. Even River Ron sent a video message to play on the projector screen, where he raised a glass and toasted. The man who reminded me life is about showing up for each other. I rented a rooftop venue with string lights and palm trees and a dance floor big enough to forget anything that ever made you feel small. Food trucks lined the street, tacos, sliders, even a makeshift dessert bar inspired by the hostel's nightly potlucks. But the piece de resistance? The guest list. I printed it out. Framed it. hung it at the entrance. There were names, real names, of every person who had shown up for me. Some I'd known for years. Others I met 2 weeks ago on a mud-slicked trail. But each of them had one thing in common: they made me feel like I mattered. And then, below that, in bold block letters, another line. This event is exclusively for those who supported me before the hashtags. I knew my family would see it. I made sure of it. The invite was posted online. Publicly. With tagged photos of everyone flying in, prepping for the party. There was even a countdown, like for a movie premiere. People were sharing it, hyping it up. 3 days before the event, I got a text from Rachel. So, are we invited? I didn't respond. 2 days before, Mom messaged me. We'd love to come show our support, honey. Support? Now? The morning of the party, Jenna sent one last message. Even if we didn't get along before, we're still family. But family doesn't erase hurt with confetti. The night of the party, the air buzzed with that electric kind of energy that can't be bought, it has to be built. I arrived early, not because I had to, but because I wanted to see it all come together. The DJ was testing sound, string lights were flickering on one by one, and someone was inflating a massive photo booth backdrop shaped like a plane ticket. Destination: anywhere but the past. By the time the first guests arrived, the rooftop was humming with conversation and laughter. I wore a white button-down and jeans, simple, clean, like a reset. No expectations. No pretending. People trickled in. That Montreal girl from the hike brought me a mango, just like the first one. The Brazilian artist wore a linen shirt and gifted me a small sketch of me standing under a waterfall. Even Luis, the tour guide, got up and made a toast in broken English that made everyone laugh and cheer. He ended with, "To Hubert. The guy who say yes to everything we say maybe to." It was the best night of my life. But what made it even sweeter was knowing who wasn't there. I'd heard from a friend that my family had tried to show up. Literally. They showed up at the venue. But the doorman, one of my new friends from the travel community, a guy named Connor with arms like tree trunks and a tattoo that read, "Only forward," had the list. They weren't on it. He turned them away. Politely, but firmly. My mom apparently stood there for a full minute, trying to explain that she was my mother. That this must be a mistake. Connor didn't budge. "We go by the list," he told her. "If he wanted you here, he would have added your name." And just like that, they were gone. I didn't even hear about it until after the first dance set, when someone showed me the photo. A blurry shot of them standing outside the venue, Rachel, Jenna, my mom, even Dad, all looking up at the lights with that weird mix of guilt and curiosity. Like kids who'd been grounded and were listening to the party through a wall. I didn't feel angry. I felt calm. In control. Whole. Because in that moment, I realized this party wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving me right. That I was never the problem. That being not fun anymore wasn't the end of my story, it was the start of something real. The music softened sometime after midnight, like the night itself knew it was time to wind down. People lounged on couches and beanbags, their laughter melting into soft murmurs and lazy smiles. I stood near the edge of the rooftop, looking out at the city skyline, a plastic cup in my hand, condensation dripping like slow punctuation. That's when someone asked me to say a few words. I hadn't planned to. This wasn't supposed to be a speech kind of night. But everyone quieted, turning toward me, and suddenly, I felt like I owed it to them, to myself, to say something. So I stepped onto the small raised platform near the DJ booth. Cleared my throat. I wasn't supposed to be here. I started. Not on this rooftop. Not in this city. Not in this moment. A few people nodded. Others just watched, wide-eyed, their faces lit by the string lights overhead. A few weeks ago, I continued, I was scrolling through social media and found out my family was on a vacation. A big one. Everyone was there. Except me. The room grew still. The kind of stillness that isn't uncomfortable, just reverent. They didn't forget. They didn't lose my invite. One of them even told me I wasn't fun anymore. That I didn't belong. I paused. I spent a long time wondering if they were right. If maybe I had become someone no one wanted around. But then, I went on a trip of my own. I jumped off cliffs, I danced in the rain, I made friends I never would have met sitting in that shame. I smiled, eyes scanning the room. And none of you ever asked me to perform. To pretend. To be the old version of myself. You just let me be. And for the first time in a long time, I actually liked who that was. Scattered claps. A few. Hell yes. But I wasn't done. So, to everyone here, thank you. You're the family I chose. You're the ones who showed up before the world decided I was worth noticing. I held up my cup. To the ones who didn't need a headline to believe I mattered. They raised theirs in return. Clinks echoed like tiny affirmations. And then I said it, not loudly, but just enough for those closest to hear. And to the people outside that door, the ones who suddenly remembered I existed. I hope you enjoy the sound of laughter through the glass. Because this joy? This life? It's mine now. And the guest list is closed. I stepped down, heart pounding, not from nerves, but from the relief of saying everything I'd never had the chance to. That night, I danced with strangers who felt like soulmates. I sang off-key. I wore a flower crown someone made out of napkins. And when I went home at 3 a.m., barefoot and delirious, I didn't feel like someone who'd been left out. I felt like someone who'd finally stepped in. Looking back, I'm not angry anymore. Not at my family. Not even at the version of me that shrank so small just to be allowed into their spaces. What I've learned, what I tell anyone feeling the sting of being left behind, is this. Sometimes rejection isn't the end. It's the redirection. Being excluded from that trip? It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it pushed me off autopilot. Forced me to write a new story, one where I wasn't the background character in someone else's narrative. I don't need to be fun to be worthy. I don't need to be loud, or perfect, or constantly entertaining. I just need to be real. Present. Me. And now? Now the right people show up for that version of me. Not the edited one. Not the one who bends to fit. The whole, messy, real thing. And if you're standing where I stood, watching people you love move on without you, maybe it's time to take the trip. Book it. Go. Even if no one else is watching. Especially then.